We're finally on to the finishing half of making Dungeon Solo Flawless guides, but don't worry, I still have to cover Grasp of Avarice and Prophecy, since those are the only ones left that give the Solo Flawless emblem. To start off the trio of classes for Spire, we're first going to go over Hunter, then Warlock, and then Titan. And then after all the three classes are done, I'm going to move on to Grasp, and then finally Prophecy. But who cares about the future? Let's get straight into the guide. But just before we do that, I want to let you know that if you ever need any sort of help with any of my content, feel free to join my live streams whenever you want on Twitch or YouTube, or you can join my Discord. Just keep in mind that I might be busy, so give me some time to finish up what I'm doing, and I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. For Spire, we have a couple different options for how we want to build our character. If you've kept up with my other guides, you probably know exactly where this is going to go. Solar or Arc are our best options. With Solar being better by a decent bit, since we have some artifact mods to help us out, like Revitalizing Blast, which gives us a 15% debuff off of hitting a boss with a Solar ability, and we have Healing Grenades, which gives us Restoration, and can be used in a panic to save us. Arc is completely viable too if you like Arc more, but be wary that you need to kill enemies with Combination Blow to get any sort of health back on that subclass, unless you're using something like Worm Crutch or Assassin's Cowl. Between the two, I'm going to recommend using Solar, even without artifact mods, just because Restoration is super good at keeping us alive. Once we get our subclass figured out, we're going to mainly be running Assassin's Cowl, alongside potentially swapping to Celestial Nighthawk if we want some big damage. Now I know that might instantly turn some of you off, but wait and hear me out. Usually I wouldn't fully recommend any sort of swapping, since these guides are for the most part meant for players who are newer to Solo Flawless dungeons, but for both of the bosses you have so much time to prep for damage that I think anybody can swap exotics before damage starts, unless you're on a really slow PS4. If you don't want to swap, it's no big deal, but just remember that your damage will not be the same as I will end up showing later in the video. You'll probably end up doing a couple more phases minimum, but at the end of the day, as long as you stay alive and complete it, who cares? The weapons we're going to be rocking are Linears for the first boss, the second encounter, and Dragon's Breath for the final boss. My two favorite linears are going to be Taipan 2FR, which is available to anybody, and Cataclysmic from Root of Nightmare. The reason I recommend using these linears is because any sort of aggressive frame linear, you know, the ones that shoot 3-shot, for the first boss can be quite challenging unless you're moving forward with the boss the whole time. And then remember, at the end of damage phase, he will shoot you back with the shockwave. If you want to use aggressive frames, that's completely fine. Just keep in mind that you're going to probably have to keep up with him unless you're super good at controlling recoil. A good thing to note is that the perks surrounded can be kind of hard to proc, since most of the time all the ads are dead, so make sure you keep that in mind when you're building your linear. Realistically, use whatever linear you'd like, but just keep in mind that the boss will continuously keep moving farther and farther away from you, and there should be almost zero ads before damage starts. And then for the final boss, we're going to be using Dragon's Breath. This will be able to consistently stagger the boss over and over again with the ignitions and make some big damage. Now if you've done this dungeon before, you know that this boss loves to move straight down the lane and head right for you. And if you know anything about rocket launchers, you know that you should never shoot a rocket at anything super close to you. But, since Dragon's Breath will constantly be staggering the boss with ignitions, we won't ever have to worry about the boss getting too close to us. In fact, the boss should be completely still the entire damage phase if you do this right. Just keep in mind that this is Destiny. There's a ton of bugs, and sometimes the game doesn't work like it's supposed to. So if you want to keep it safe, you can try running linears here as well, or Leviathan's Breath, which is another great option as long as you have a Void Loader mod on it. You only need one of these Void Loader mods, but the Void Loader mod will significantly increase your DPS, so please make sure you're using at least one. You also don't need the Catalyst for Leviathan's Breath, but it is very useful since you get 3 Void Reserves as a base default for the weapon, and Archer's Tempo, which increases draw time on precision hits that are timed with the arrow cocking all the way back. Then for our other weapons, we're going to be running any sort of solar weapon we want that's good for ad click. I prefer Callus Mini Tool, but I'm going to recommend using something like Amit or Adhorative, since they have more range for the harpies that like to fly around on the first and second encounter. Try to roll anything with Incandescent on them, but honestly, just prioritize using a solar weapon. This will be very, very useful later on, as I'll explain in the loadout section. Then for our special weapon, I'm going to be running Scatter Signal or Riptide for clearing chunky enemies like the Minotaurs or doing boss damage. Any good fusion will work fine, just please make sure you have the solar weapon on. Of course, there are always other options, so if you find something that works better for you, please let me know in the comments or in Discord. If anything in this video is missing, or if you're looking for specific parts of my setups, I have most of my dim links in my Discord. I also 100% recommend doing a full solo run and trying out what you want to run first before committing to a full solo flawless run, or you might end up wasting a ton more time than necessary. Alright, now that I did a quick overview of our setup, let's get straight into how we're going to build our Solar Hunter, and after that, I'll show you phase examples so you can see exactly how I put my loadouts to use. Alright, so first we're going to go over our loadout. We're going to be running Golden Gun Marksman for the first boss during second counter, and then Blade Barrage for the final boss. We're going to be way closer. Blade Barrage should be way easier to land than against the Harpy. Then for our abilities, Gambler's Dodge. When we whiff our melee, we can just dodge on your enemies, get it back immediately. Run whatever jump you want. I like triple jump. Knife Trick. I think Knife Trick is the best melee, but if you're going to run one of the knives, I'm going to recommend running the weighted throwing knife. And then make sure you land a crit. And then Healing Grenade. This is how we're going to get our healing. Or not necessarily healing, but our restoration. So make sure you have this on. Very, very useful. I'm not going to recommend anything else over this. For our aspects, we have on your mark. You getting precision kills with this will increase your weapon handling and reload speed. This can stack up 3 times, but if you dodge, doesn't matter if you're near enemies or not, just if you dodge, you will instantly get 3 stacks. So this makes DPS during damage rotation very, very good. And you will get... Your DPS will be much higher with 3 stacks on your mark compared to 0. Weapon handling and the reload speed, although if you're using something like auto-loading, doesn't matter. The handling, very, very, very good. And then we're using Knock 'em Down. Marksman Golden Gun will get increased duration. Doesn't really matter because you're gonna shoot all 3 shots before the duration even matters. And then Blade Barrage, you get more projectiles, that equals more damage. But the most important thing here is when you're Radiant, getting kills with your throwing knives will refund them immediately. So we don't always have to dodge to get them back. Very, very, very useful. There is Gunpowder Gamble, but I'm not going to recommend it just because you're going to probably kill yourself more often than not. So keep that in mind. If you're going to swap something out, though, swap out Gunpowder Gamble with On Your Mark, I guess. Honestly, though, I think these are just way better. Just don't swap that. For fragments, Ember of Empyrean, Solar Weapon or Ability Final Blows will extend the Restoration and Radiant effects. This means we're not going to be needing to throw our melee or our grenades back to back to back to back. We can just get kills with our normal weapon, keep our Restoration Radiant up. This is a must-have. Throw this on. I don't care what else you're running. Throw this on. And make sure you're using a solar weapon. And then Ember of Torches. This will make us Radiant off of getting powered melee attacks. You don't necessarily need this one because there's artifact mods that give you Radiant this season. But I would definitely still throw this on anyways. Just makes it easier. And the negative 10 discipline isn't even that bad of a draw. So, bad of a takeaway. So, and you've got 5 slots. Next, Ember of Solace. Radiant and Restoration effects applied to you have increased duration. This means that it goes from 3 seconds to 6 seconds for the base timer, but that's it. I don't think it increases the actual max timer. So I think like the max timer is 12 seconds or 15 seconds, something like that. I don't think it increases it. I know it increases the base starting duration from 3 to 6 seconds though, so this you don't need. This is just a nice ease of use, quality of life fragment. But it's still nice to have on compared... There's not a lot of other better ones that I would even put on, so... Ember of Singeing, your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. Very, very useful for getting our class ability back faster, obviously. And then finally, Ember of Ashes, you apply more scorch stacks to targets. You're going to be using a solar weapon with incandescent most likely. This means you're going to get more scorch off, ignitions faster, etc. Very, very, very useful. If I was to swap out anything, it would be Ember of Solace for Ember of Mercy, I think. Yep, picking up Fire Spite will give you restoration. But once the bug is fixed for restoration, there is a bug right now. There has been a bug for a little bit now. We're picking up Fire Sprites or reprocking. I think it might just be reprocking restoration in general. When your timer is above the base, so 3 or 6 seconds, if you proc restoration, it'll instantly reduce it back to that base timer, which is a bug. Bungie's acknowledged this, I think, like a month ago. They still haven't fixed it, from what I know. So don't run Ember of Mercy unless you are constantly picking up Fire Sprites and you're wary that your timer is going to be reset every time you pick one up. So I'm not sure it's 100% guaranteed that it'll reset it, but just keep an eye out for that. For our weapons, Scatter Signal for Fusion Rifle. You could also for the first encounter. Let me start over. For the first encounter, run a burst damage weapon for the Minotaurs, and then I'm using EU just so I like to get around faster. That's it. Then I swap the Cataclysmic and Wither Horde. You could also use Supremacy too. I tried it out. It's not bad. Make sure you have Connect mod on. Wither Horde to proc bait and switch. Chaos Mini Tool to shred down the eyes. Or Amit, because Amit's going to be better for range. Ignore my terrible roll. I have never crafted this. Just ignore it. And then Cataclysmic for damage. Bait and switch. You'll get proc from Wither Horde breaking the eyes. And then for the final boss, we will have Scatter Signal again. Whatever solar weapon you want. And then Dragon's Breath. Simple. For our exotic armors, we're running Assassin's Talon, Celestial Nighthawk. What I like to do is I like to swap. I only use Celestial for the second encounter. I swap, like, while the eyes are popping up, I swap the Celestial Nighthawk, and then I start shooting them all. And then once it's done, I go hide in a corner or something, swap it back, and that's it. Very easy. For the mods, though, I'll show you the quick overview if you want to take a screenshot. There you go. You can take a screenshot. You can swap out one of these for a scav mod if you want, but we'll go into detail now. So we're going to be running... I'm going to be running heavy ammo finders. I'm going to get my super back fast enough, although in I think my run later, I actually don't get my super back fast enough, but that's because I'm rushing it. I've already sold Flawless Thunder before, so if you want to throw on a super mod, you can. But make sure it's something like I would use something like Hands-On or Dynamo, because you're not going to get grenade kills, and you don't need to make ores for your allies. So running 2 heavy ammo finders, I want my heavy ammo back. Simple. Harmonic Siphon, very, very, very useful. Please make sure you have a Siphon mod on. This is how we're going to get a majority of our armor charges for damage. In tandem with that, we're going to be using heavy-handed as well in our arms to get powered melee final blows. This cooldown is way bigger, though, than the Siphon, so you can stack this if you want. I'm not going to recommend stacking it necessarily. You're going to be getting solar weapon kills anyways. And then running Impact Induction. It just helps you get your grenade back faster. So for our chest plate, it depends what you're going to run. So I would ignore Concussive Dampener, because I don't think anything in here really does splash damage besides the final boss. So if you just want to throw this on just for the whole run, you don't want to worry about switching, then yes, throw it on. But I think the Harpies count as sniper damage because of how far they are. I don't know the exact meters range it is. I want to say it's like 24 or some weird number like that, but I don't know. Want to play safe, just throw on Concussive Dampener. You don't have to worry about switching later on. And then you're going to use Void for sure. The Harpy does Void damage. Or sorry, the Wyvern does Void damage. And then you could use Harmonic here for the extra slot, or if you need to put a 1 on, like we're using something like Resilience, you can only throw a single slot on, so throw on Harmonic. Or Arc. But it just depends. That last slot, it depends on what you're fighting. Just make sure you have the Void one on, and then Concussive if you don't want to swap separate. For our legs, I'm going to be running 2 Solar Weapon Surges, because we're going to be getting a lot of damage off from our Cataclysmic, for the most part, and then 1 Kinetic Weapon Surge, because Kinetic Weapon Surge actually buffs our Golden Gun. Later, swap this to 3 Solar Weapon Surges, or put on a Solar Scavenger if you get low on ammo, because while Dragon's Breath, you should never, ever burn through your entire reserves and magazine, like your full reserves, in a single damage phase, like, almost ever. Just because of how the weapon works. If you're low on ammo, though, you can still use this. I'm gonna recommend throwing, for ease of use, put on a Scavenger. But if you want to get the most damage out, put on 3 Surges. That's what I'm gonna leave it at. And then for our mark, running 2 Time Dilation mods. I honestly don't think anything else here is useful besides Special Finisher. If you want to throw that on. Just remember, though, mixing the yellow and blue mods together, the Surges and the Consume Armor Charge mods, they conflict. So just be wary that the reason they conflict is because you will consume the charges that you're using for extra damage whenever you use an ability. So depending on the ability you use is what I should say. So yeah, that's it. Prioritize 100 Resilience. I have 110 because I just swapped it. Prioritize 100 Resilience, and then go into Discipline next for Hunters. But build into what you're most comfortable with. Just make sure you have 100 Resilience. I think that's it. Don't think I'm missing anything. We're going to move on to damage phase examples now. And then that'll be it. So, I will see you guys in just a second. Alright, so we are going to be starting off with the first encounter. I'm just going to show... I don't know. I might show one floor, I might show the whole thing. This is really self-explanatory. I don't really know what to tell you. It's kind of just you just follow the lines and shoot them. Quick refresher. You kill the Minotaur, walk in their pool, and then... Wow, that lagged really bad. Sorry. That's on my end, not your guys'. You walk in the pool, and then you just follow the line, shoot the little pad things, and that's it. It doesn't get much more complicated than that. I basically use Assassin's Cowl the whole time and just ignore all of the enemies. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's just super simple. I'm looking around sometimes. I haven't done this in a while. So, I don't think I've actually done this in like a year. So, I'm probably just going to be looking around a little bit. That's the first floor. I don't remember how long this takes, but I'll let the rest of this just go out just in case you want to see all of it again. But I'm not sure I'm going to be able to say much more than what I've already said. Watch out for the arc beams. Make sure your Arctrician is buffed up all the way. Or not all the way, but make sure you still have a good amount of timer on it. 5 to 10 seconds should be fine. And remember, every time you shoot one of the nodes, you refresh your timer. So. Or it's every time you make a connection. So, from one node to the next, when you hear the doo-doo, that means you get some of your Arctrician back. And you can ignore the I forgot what they're called. Not wyverns. The annoying flying guys at the shield. You can just ignore them because you're using Assassin's Cowl. So. This second floor is very easy. Another good thing to know, actually, is you can shoot the one ahead. So if you have nodes 1, 2, and 3, left to right in order, if you shoot 1 and 3, 3 won't get connected, right? Because you still have to shoot the one in the middle. But if you shoot 2 after you shot 3, it'll still make the full connection, as long as you do it fast enough. So you don't need to necessarily shoot them in order. You should, because the timer is pretty short. But if you accidentally shoot one ahead and you're like, oh shit, I forgot to shoot the one before that, you can just turn around and shoot it real fast. And if you're fast enough, you'll get it off. So another thing I like to do is I like to, depending, I think on this floor especially, I shot that top right one, the one that starts on this side, so the one that's starting on the side I was just on, and it goes around the other side of the building. I like to shoot the first one after the starting one, because then I can shoot it over here. I don't have to walk around the corner. So, honestly, though, there's not a lot of tips I can give here. This isn't that hard. Right there, I use my melee to keep myself from falling off the map. But yeah, that's it. Simple. Alright, so I accidentally pressed spacebar earlier and ended my recording because I was tapped into OBS and not DaVinci. So, I bet if there's a weird cut there, that's why. So we're going to start it off, and we are going to shoot all 4 nodes. Just makes it easier for us later on. We don't have to go back up to the middle every time. Another thing to note is I actually prefer running no Assassin's Cowl here and just throwing on Celestial Nighthawk. This makes it so I don't have to switch mid-encounter. And this is me being lazy. So, but the only issue with this is that you have to make sure your healing grenade is on standby, or you are constantly keeping restoration up. To be fair, most of this encounter, you're never taking that much damage. The boss doesn't shoot you when you're doing damage. The Harpies don't do enough damage unless you let them stack up. And the Goblins and Minotaurs are usually dead. So, you probably won't even need to run any sort of healing here if you keep your ad clear up and you don't play as aggressive. But, whatever. So, I'm running Celestial Nighthawk by itself. You can run Assassin's Cowl, and then when the eyes pop up, switch, and then kill all the eyes. Just make sure that you don't run out of time and just miss an entire damage phase. So, what I'm doing is I'm going around shooting all the nodes. You know that. You know how to do this dungeon. And then what you can do is you can leave the last nodes alive on each side if you want. Pick which side you want to do it on. They're all the same. But if you have Orbs of Power or heavy ammo on side, you might want to do it there. Up to you. I'm trying to kill all the Harpies because they're just annoying to deal with during damage phase. And then I'm just going to go straight into damage. The Minotaurs or Goblins should never really push your top. So they'll sit on the bottom side, but they should never push up top onto the same floor as you, from the middle at least. They might. It's not crazy to say that they don't. I mean, it's crazy to say they don't do it. They will do it sometimes. But it's not something you ever need to worry about. You don't need to kill all the ads in the middle. Right there, I'm getting my armor charges up. So now we have all 3 armor charges. You want to make sure you're going into damage with full armor charges. If you don't, you're going to miss out on damage. Even though the timer isn't super long. So, we're going to start off with shooting the eyes. Incandescent, the Scorch. I'm not exactly sure if the eyes actually count as damage here, or if the Scorch from Incandescent starts doing tick damage here, which gives us bait and switch. I don't remember, but I'm going to rewind it a little bit. So once all the eyes are shot, immediately Wither Horde. There we go. Eyes are all shot. Wither Horde, Celestial. If you want to wait, leave one eye alive, swap off Assassin's Cowl to Celestial Nighthawk. Then you can continue to shoot the last eye. Wither Horde, Celestial, boom, 790,000 damage. I think I saw, I forgot his name. He did like 811k. I don't remember what I was missing for damage here. This will still be plenty though. So, and then your bait and switch should be proc now. So we're just going to go straight into shooting him in the face. I'm using Cataclysmic. This is going to be better damage than the Taipan no matter what. So Taipan will probably 4 phase minimum. Probably average like 5 phase, which isn't bad. These damage phases are really short. So, but yeah, that's it. 130 damage right there. Simple, nothing crazy. If you need help, just let me know. But we're gonna go on into the final boss. These platforms over here, you can actually sit on and chill out. So, okay, we're gonna be moving into the final boss now. Started my recording a little late. It's not a big deal. I start off by immediately burning these Hydras with my fusion rifle because we're gonna be getting enough special ammo anyways. So. Here I'm using Assassin's Cowl again. I don't switch anything here during any of my damage runs, so don't worry about swapping. That's just a one-time thing if you want to use it in second encounter. None of this guide would require swapping. I just recommend using at least less than I have for the second boss. But if you're having problems, you can use swapping to your advantage. In the future, like if once everybody's on like a PS5 or a PC, you know, Xbox One X, Series X, whatever the fuck it's called, I'm gonna start recommending loadout swapping, or not necessarily loadout swapping, but swapping stuff around. Because I know I'm playing on PS4 and the old Xbox One, your hard drive is just slow, and it can actually get you killed. So, well, eventually when everything is fast enough, people should start to learn how to swap weapons or loadouts if they want to do good damage and do it fast, and you know, quote unquote get good. So, but for this encounter, you're just following the mechanics. There is not much more I can say. Assassin's Cowl's keeping me alive the whole time. Right before I finish this, though, I'm trying to get my armor charges up. So most of the ads will spawn right in the middle, or the supplicants will spawn on the sides of the room, and then they'll rush into the middle. So you're gonna find most of them in this middle area where you lock Persis in, or in the middle of the other area where you're gonna do damage. So getting my armor charges up, and then you have a little bit of time to get out here. It's like 7 seconds, I want to say, maybe 10. You have a good amount of time, so don't freak out. And then once that time's over, you have like another 5 seconds minimum to shoot all of these. So what I always do is I reproc my armor charge off these Minotaurs with heavy-handed, because your armor charge will probably be low. Your third armor charge will probably be low here, or it'll be out. So right here, proc it all with my heavy-handed, and the Minotaurs will despawn later. So you got to make sure you do it sort of fast. Okay, reactor core purged. You see that in chat. Throwing my healing grenade a little bit after that. The wall's going to drop. Dragon's Breath, Blade Barrage. If you are playing during Season of the Wish, Blade Barrage is a solar ability. Is a technically solar ability, right? So you're going to get Revitalizing Blast off of that. 15% damage debuff here. So damage may vary. And then Dragon's Breath on top of our Blade Barrage and other Scorch, Solar Ignitions, whatever, is going to keep them staggered the whole time. So my damage rotation is going to be Dragon's Breath, Fusion, 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 Dragon's Breath, Fusion, 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 etc. And then during that, I'm throwing my melee to reproc Revitalizing Blast. That's just because of the season, though. So it'll probably be an extra phase or two, depending on what season you're playing in and what mods you're out. But the Ignition should keep him still the entire time. He should never get too close to you unless you mess something up. Or unless Bungie messes something up, which they already have with this game. If Bungie decides to just ignore the rules of Ignition and just let the boss walk towards you, right? So that's a damage run right there. This is a solid 4 phase. Minimum, if we're gonna say no Revitalizing Blast, solid 5 phase, 6 phase maybe. But it sounds like a lot. But this isn't Ghost of the Deep. These damage phases are super fast to get to, and are super fast in general. So that's not terrible for a solo dungeon. If this is Ghost of the Deep, though, that'd be horrible. Like, good luck. So, if there's anything I would change here, if you don't want to play as risky, yes, Dragon's Breath is a rocket launcher, and if Persis gets too close to you, he's going to mess you up really bad, because Harpies just like to do a lot of damage. So you can play back, use a linear, his crit is in the middle of his chest, just like all the other Vex. You could also try Leviathan's Breath here. I tried Leviathan's Breath. I got like half the amount of damage I got here. I also didn't hit every crit. He's also constantly shooting you, staggering you. He's getting closer to you as well. You could also use a linear as well. But if you're going to do something like that, if you want to play it safer and not and get good damage, then I'm not even going to recommend playing Hunter for this. I'm going to recommend playing something like Warlock, where you can just sit in your well and fuck around. Or Titan, where you can sit in your stun spots. You can use Lornley. But if you're playing Hunter, you should probably know that Hunter's survivability is nowhere near as good as the other two classes. Although you do have Assassin's Cowl, but if there's no enemies, you're fucked. So, but yeah, I think that's it. If I missed anything, I don't think I missed anything. But if I missed anything, it'll be in the comments or something like that. If you need help, let me know. I'm gonna roll the outro in a second. You can stop by my live streams. There will be one after this video if you're catching this early. And there's my Discord as well. That'll be in the description or in the comments, something like that. It'll be there. You can join that. Hit me up. My dim links are in there. If you ever want to know any roles for weapons, if you have any questions about roles, you can hit me up. Thanks, guys. Hopefully this guide helped, and if it did, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. I plan on making more Destiny content at least until the final shape drops, so stay around for more Solo Files guides. I also make Tarkov content, and maybe I'll branch out to other games in the future. My 1000 subscriber special went over some other possible games that I might do if Destiny flaps during Final Shape, so please make sure to check that out. It's a pretty short video. Remember that the members program is always a thing if you ever feel like being a part of that. There's no real benefits, there's some cool badges for the streams, super cool Discord role, and maybe some early access to videos if I decide to drop them early enough. Just remember this is a subscription-based model, so make sure you cancel it whenever you're done supporting. Alright guys, well that's everything. Thanks again for watching the video, and hopefully, I'll see you around.